I was thinking about this wild idea recently. Your brain makes something like 12,000 thoughts in a single day.
Yeah, which is just a huge amount of mental noise.
Right. But here is the part that really made me stop and wonder. Nearly 80% of those thoughts are exact repeats from the day before.
Oh, yeah, the exact same loops.
It's staggering. A choice that realistically only needs, I don't know, maybe 10 seconds of actual processing time, it can quietly stretch into 10 days of mental jumping around.
And it feels awful when you're in it.
It really does. And the strangest part about all of this, the people who care the most about getting things right, like the most careful, diligent people you know, they are usually the ones who find themselves completely stuck, just, moving the least.
It's a quiet tension that many of us feel. You spend a huge amount of energy trying to be careful, trying to be thorough. But instead of actually moving forward, you just end up feeling tired and stuck in place.
Exactly. Somewhere between your first spark of an idea and your first actual step, something is quietly stealing your results. And that's what we are getting into today. Just really unpacking the hidden mechanics of overthinking.
Yeah, and to really understand why this happens, we have to pull apart two ideas that look the same from the outside, but are totally different in the brain, which is thinking and then just spinning in place.
Right, because if I'm just, sitting on my couch staring at the wall, I could be doing either one.
Exactly. Real thinking is active. It's linear. When you are truly thinking through a problem, you are gathering facts, looking at them, and walking down a path toward a choice. It actually has an endpoint.
Okay, so it has a destination.
Right. But the spinning, that mental looping, is just walking in a circle. You are circling the exact same worry, the same what-if game over and over without ever landing on a choice.
I like to think of it like sitting down at your computer, right? You open 20 different browser tabs at once, but your internet is down.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, like none of the pages actually load. You're just staring at 20 spinning wheels burning up your battery for no reason.
And that is exactly what is happening to your mental battery. But the real trap here is how well this looping hides itself. It dresses up as being careful and responsible.
Okay, wait, I have to push back on this a little bit.
Sure, go ahead.
Isn't thinking things through a good thing? I mean, we always praise people for being detail-focused. Measure twice, cut once, right?
We do, yeah.
So why are we suddenly saying it's a problem when someone just wants to make a careful choice? If I look up a topic for 3 hours before I start, or if I ask, like, 3 different friends for their take on a text message, shouldn't I be rewarded for being thorough?
And that defense, that's
Yes.
exactly why this habit is so hard to break. We really do reward the look of hard work, and being super busy in your own head, well, it feels like productivity.
It really does. It feels like I'm doing the work.
But there is a real physical line where being careful ends and self-sabotage begins. What's so interesting here is what happens under the hood. Overthinking isn't just a quirky trait. It is deeply physical.
Physical, like in the brain.
Yes, there's a specific network in the brain, kind of like an idling engine. It flares up when you aren't focused on an outside task. It handles daydreaming, self-focus, and worry.
So that engine is what's running when I'm in the shower, just like replaying an argument from 3 years ago.
Spot on. And
Yeah,
in
yeah.
small doses, that engine is very useful. It helps us learn from the past and guess what might happen next. But here is the catch.
Uh-oh, here it comes.
When that engine gets overactive, when it just runs without limits, it demands a ton of power. And when it does that, the front part of your brain, the part that handles clear logic and action, it literally gets less blood flow.
Hold on. Less blood flow.
Yes, the blood actually shifts away.
Are you saying this isn't just like a software bug where I'm a little distracted? I'm dealing with a hardware issue where my brain is physically less able to decide.
That's exactly it. You aren't just distracted. Your brain is handicapped in that moment. The more you spend in thought, the less energy your front brain has to actually make a choice.
Wow.
And the specific words we use inside our heads can actually trigger this. When people worry and use the word I, like, why did I say that? Or what if I fail? It causes a spike in stress hormones.
Wait, really? Just by saying I to ourselves?
Just by talking in the first person during a worry loop.
So we are basically hitting the panic button on our own dashboard?
Precisely. And that stress response takes massive amounts of energy. Every time you turn a worry over in your head, your brain burns real physical fuel.
So it's not just a feeling of being tired, you are actually draining the tank.
Right. If you spend 3 hours spinning in the morning, by the time you need to make a real choice at 2 in the afternoon, you have what we call decision fatigue.
Your mental tank is just completely empty.
And the quality of your actual choices just falls off a cliff.
Okay, so if we are dealing with a physical issue, like literally a matter of blood flow and energy in the brain, how do our bodies play into this?
They play a huge role.
Like, do the things I eat or how I sleep hit the gas pedal on this worry loop?
Absolutely. We often treat the mind like it's just floating in a jar, totally separate from the body.
Right.
But your hardware drives your software.
That makes a lot of sense. So where do we start? Food?
Let's start with food, yeah. Diets that are very high in sugar and heavy processed stuff, they cause stress in the body.
Mm.
And that body stress can actually cross into the brain and make that idling engine even more hyper.
So a bad diet literally primes your brain to sit in a corner and overthink.
Yes, because sickness or deep body stress makes you want to isolate and worry. It's a defense thing.
Wow. Okay, what about things like coffee? I mean, I love my coffee.
Well, high amounts of caffeine, mainly later in the day, they artificially raise your nervous system. It basically hands your worry extra fuel to burn.
So I'm just drinking liquid anxiety at that point.
Pretty much. On the flip side, good fats, like the ones in salmon and walnuts, they give physical support right to the front part of your brain. They help it stand up to the pole of the worry engine.
Okay, so food is huge, but I have a feeling sleep is the heavyweight champion here.
It really is. The front of your brain, the logical part, is incredibly sensitive to a lack of sleep. It is the very first brain region to power down when you don't rest well.
Way before the rest of the brain.
Long before the older, more emotion-driven parts are affected. This is why a tiny problem after a bad night of sleep feels like the end of the world.
Oh, I know that feeling so well. Everything is a crisis.
Right, because your logical brake pads are completely worn out. It leaves the emotional brain running the whole show.
That clears up so much. I'm also really curious about how this whole loop changes as we get older. Like, does someone in their 20s overthink differently than someone in their 40s?
They do, because what we see as a threat changes over time. In your 20s, you are still building who you are, so the worry loop is heavily fueled by comparison.
Oh, totally. The constant checking to see how you measure up.
Exactly. It's an exhausting internal check against everyone else. But then, moving into your 30s, the stakes feel a lot higher.
Right. It's careers, marriage, buying a house.
Exactly. And in that stage, overthinking often wears a mask. It acts like a shield. People convince themselves that if they just think hard enough, they can protect themselves from making a huge mistake.
They think thinking equals safety.
Yes. And then into your 40s and beyond, people often feel very stuck. They feel like their mental habits have just hardened into stone.
Even though we know the brain can keep changing and rewiring at any age, right?
Always. The brain is always flexible, but the longer you've used overthinking to cope, the more automatic it feels.
It's just a deeper groove in the record.
Exactly. You see this a lot in daily life. Take someone who is super successful, but known as the ultimate careful planner. Sometimes that carefulness turns into total gridlock.
Like taking an hour to send one simple email.
Yes. Or spending 3 weeks looking at the exact same options for a new place to live, getting nowhere. They mistake endless thinking for actual care.
And because they aren't doing anything reckless, nobody stops them. It's this very quiet, gentle trap.
It is. Now flip that and look at someone where overthinking doesn't look like fear. It looks like a strong demand for control.
Oh, that's interesting. What does that look like?
It looks like stalling. Delaying a project for weeks, just endless tweaks to the margins or the fonts. They wait for flawless perfection, mostly because they are terrified of looking bad to their team.
Ah, so the delay is a defense tactic.
Exactly. For them, not finishing is safer than finishing and being judged.
Here's where it gets really fascinating, though. Overthinking rarely travels alone, does it? It's like a bad roommate who always invites other bad roommates over.
It absolutely has roommates, and they all feed off each other. The biggest one is perfectionism.
Which is exactly what that control tactic is about.
Right. Perfectionism builds a closed loop. The fear of a tiny flaw stops the very first step from ever happening. And it usually lives right next door to people-pleasing.
While people-pleasing, running every choice through a filter of how 10 different people might react.
Exactly. It's exhausting just to describe it. But there is another roommate that surprises a lot of folks. The fear of success.
Wait, really? A fear of success, not failure?
Yes. For many of us, the devil we know is a lot safer than the devil we don't. Deep down, a part of the mind worries about the new duties or pressure that will come if things actually go perfectly right.
So they just overthink to stall the whole process. They break it before it can work.
Exactly. And we really can't ignore the most modern roommate of all, constant phone use and the noise that comes with it.
The doom scrolling, how does that directly feed the overthinking loop?
When you constantly use your phone, jumping from one thing to the next every 3 seconds, you train your brain to crave constant high-speed noise.
You're just wiring yourself for chaos.
Right. And you train yourself to fully reject quiet spaces. When you are used to that level of input, real, deep, focused thinking actually feels deeply wrong.
It feels boring, almost.
Worse than boring. Your brain mistakes the quiet of actual thought for a lack of safety. That triggers stress, which throws you right back into the worry loop.
Wow. Okay, so we've mapped the trap. We know it's a physical habit tied to brain energy, and it's made worse by our food, our sleep, our phones, and all these hidden fears.
It's a lot, yeah.
It is. So the big question for the listener is, how do we actually rewire the hardware? How do we short-circuit this loop in real time without feeling like we are just throwing caution to the wind?
The very first thing to grasp is a major shift in mindset. The goal is not to stop thinking.
It's not, but isn't that what everyone wants, to just turn off the brain?
It is what they want,
Yeah.
but telling someone to stop thinking is like telling a fish to stop swimming. It's a myth. And trying to force your mind to go blank only creates way more stress.
Okay, so if the goal isn't to stop thinking, what is it?
The goal is to shorten the loop.
Shorten the loop. I like that. How do we do it?
The first tool is simple naming. The very second you feel that tight chest or that familiar mental spin, you just silently say to yourself, "This is overthinking," or "I am spinning right now."
Honestly, that sounds almost too simple. How does just saying a word fix a physical loop in the brain?
It's actually amazing how it works. When you put a clear label on a feeling, it right away wakes up the logical front of your brain.
Oh, because you have to use logic to name it.
Exactly. And at the exact same time, it cools down the brain's alarm center. You are literally using words to force the blood back to the front of your brain.
Naming it to tame it. That is brilliant. What about when you are just completely stuck on a choice?
That's where you use a strict time limit. Let's call it the 2-minute rule. For any choice that has very low stakes, like what to eat for dinner, what to watch, or replying to a basic text, you give yourself a hard 2-minute window.
Just 2 minutes and then you have to pick.
Yes. People use this a lot during high-stress times. By forcing a fence around all the small daily choices, you free up a massive amount of mental space for the evening.
You save the battery for the big choices that actually matter.
Exactly. You conserve your energy.
But what about the people who get stuck in the research phase? You know, they claim they're just gathering facts, but they're really just hiding. How do we break that specific flavor of the loop?
That takes practice. You have to learn to make imperfect starts. You force yourself to start the draft, make the choice, or send the email when you feel only about 70% ready.
70%. Oh, that would give a perfectionist a total panic attack.
It feels awful at first.
Yeah.
It really does. But it acts as training for your nervous system.
How so?
By starting at 70% and seeing that the sky doesn't fall, you teach your brain to handle uncertainty. You have to put a strict cap on your research before you even start.
So you give yourself a rule beforehand.
Right. You tell yourself, "I will read exactly 3 articles," or "I will ask exactly 2 people for advice." And when you hit that limit, the gathering phase is over.
And the action phase begins.
Yes. And another huge tool is getting it out of your head.
Like writing it down.
Writing it down is powerful. When worries are just bouncing around inside that idling engine, they feel massive and terrifying. They feel endless.
They really do take on a life of their own in there.
But when you force them out through your hands and onto a piece of paper, they become a real physical thing. You can look at them from the outside.
It sort of strips away the scary magic.
Exactly. It removes the heavy emotion.
And we also can't forget what we could call a physical reset, because this looping lives entirely in the brain. Bringing your focus sharply back to the body can literally break the spell.
Oh, movement is incredible for this.
Right. Taking just 30 seconds to do a deep stretch, or walking fast to another room, or just doing 20 jumping jacks. It forces your blood flow away from the worry centers and into your muscles.
It hits the biological reset button right in the moment. And your surroundings matter a lot too.
How do you mean?
Well, if you have choices that need deep clarity, do them in the morning. That is when your front brain is fully charged. Do not save your heavy lifting for 9 at night.
Yeah, nothing good gets decided at 9 p.m., and we really should cut back on the late-night phone time.
Oh, absolutely.
You're just feeding the comparison trap and spiking your stress right when your brain's brake pads are completely gone.
It's the worst time for it.
Eh.
And there is one more tool for the folks who just can't shake it. The worry window.
A worry window, what is that?
Well, since trying to banish worry completely never works, you give it a designated home, you block off exactly 10 minutes a day, say 4 in the afternoon.
And you just sit and worry?
You sit and you write down every single stress, every disaster, every what if, you let it all out.
Yeah.
But when that 10 minutes is up, you close the book.
So you put a fence around it?
Yes.
Yeah.
By keeping the worry inside a strict boundary, it stops bleeding into the other 23 hours of your day.
We have covered so much ground here today. From the physical hardware of the brain and blood flow, to the terrible roommates like perfectionism, all the way down to real tools like the 2-minute rule and naming the feeling.
It's a big topic, but it touches all of us.
It really does. But before we wrap up, I want to take a step back and look at the grand design of all this.
That's the most important part, I think. If we look at the bigger picture, there is a total shift in perception that can change your relationship with your own mind.
What's the shift?
The part of your brain that drives this exhausting loop is not broken.
It feels broken.
I know it does. But it is not an enemy trying to ruin your day. It is an ancient, highly tuned survival system. It was built over thousands of years to keep you safe.
Built to scan the tall grass for danger.
Exactly. That network grew to run endless safety checks so you wouldn't get hurt. It didn't grow to help you write a flawless text message or pick the perfect mutual fund.
Right, it's meant for tigers, not emails.
Exactly. But today, because you live in a safe world with no actual predators in the grass, that exact same life-or-death focus turns itself toward your inbox, your friendships, and your daily tasks.
So it treats a tiny typo like a real physical threat?
It sets off the exact same alarm bells.
So what does this all mean for you listening? It means you can let yourself off the hook. This is not a personal failing. You are not uniquely anxious or, deeply broken.
Not at all.
You are just operating an ancient survival tool that happens to be running the wrong program for the modern world, and rewiring that isn't about some massive overnight change.
No, it never is.
Growth isn't a place you suddenly arrive at. It is a daily direction. It's the tiny 2-minute choices, the 70% starts, and the deep breaths that slowly board up into lasting resilience. You can give yourself some grace as you train your habits to run differently.
That grace is so vital.
It really is. And as we finish up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a brand new idea to mull over on your own. If our constant overthinking is, at its core, just an ancient, watchful guard dog frantically looking for danger in the grass, what happens if we intentionally give it something to hunt?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Instead of constantly fighting the overthinking loop, what if you pointed that intense thinking energy into something useful? What if you took up a complex puzzle, a heavy strategy game, or decided to learn a tricky new instrument? If you deliberately give that guard dog a specific hard job to do, it just might finally stop barking at your everyday life.
These thoughts, these questions, they don't have to stop here. Geeks Mindset has many more podcasts and videos just like this one. Subscribe to the channel and explore other episodes. They all flow the same thoughtful way. If this podcast felt genuinely useful to you, kabang, share it with even one person in your life. That one share can bring a real change in someone's life. And it helps Geeks Mindset reach more people who truly need this. If this brought you real value, look for the join button right next to the Geeks Mindset logo below this video. Click it and become a member of the Mindset Support Circle. Your support helps honest mindset awareness reach thousands who are silently struggling. Geeks Mindset moves forward because of you. Thank you so much from the heart for being here.